Tomal was just a technician on the human colony ship Peacewind. His job was not exciting. He fixed lights, checked air filters, and made sure the water pipes did not break. He liked working with machines. They were simple, quiet, and never asked strange questions. That morning, while eating his usual breakfast-dry cereal with recycled milk, he heard his name over the ship's intercom. Technician Tomal, please report to the command deck immediately. He blinked. He had never been called there before. Tomal quickly wiped his mouth and hurried down the long, quiet corridor. When he arrived, the doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside stood Commander Reen, an older woman with sharp eyes and a serious face. She pointed to a screen. You've received a personal request from the Narosian embassy? Tomal's eyes widened. Me? Commander Reen nodded. Yes, from Ambassador Valari herself. Tomal stepped forward. The screen displayed a formal message. The Narosian letters slowly changed into human language. To Technician Tomal of the Peacewind, I, Valari of the Narosian Council, request your presence at the embassy. I wish to learn more about human customs through direct experience. Your name was suggested. With respect, Valari, Ambassador of Naros. Tomal stared at the message. This must be a mistake. Commander Reen raised an eyebrow. I don't think so. It seems she picked you on purpose. Tomal felt confused. He was not a scientist, not a leader, and definitely not anyone important. But something inside him was curious. Why would such an important alien want to speak to someone like him? He nodded slowly. I accept. Later that day, a small Narosian shuttle arrived at the Peacewind. It was smooth, round, and made of glassy stone. The doors opened silently. Tomal stepped inside. The ship was quiet, lit by soft blue lights. A Narosian guy, tall and calm, nodded and said nothing during the ride. Tomal sat quietly, trying not to fidget. The shuttle took him to the Narosian embassy, a peaceful dome built beside a calm green lake on the planet below. The walls of the building shimmered like crystal, and the air smelled like soft flowers and clean rain. Inside, everything felt slow, graceful, and quiet. Tomal was led to a large chamber where glowing stones floated gently above the floor. There, sitting on a platform made of smooth black stone, was Ambassador Valari. She was unlike anyone Tomal had ever seen, tall, elegant, and covered in gentle silver patterns across her skin. Her eyes were deep green, and her voice when she finally spoke was calm like water. You are Tomal? She asked. Tomal bowed, unsure of what to say. Yes, Ambassador. She nodded. Please sit. I wish to understand human customs. Your people are new to the galaxy. You smile easily. You speak quickly. You show many emotions. This is different. To us. Tomal sat on a soft cushion and tried not to stare. You want me to explain emotions? Valari tilted her head. Yes, and stories, and food, and your hand gestures. I have read reports. I have seen videos. But I wish to feel the meaning. You are not a leader, Tomal. That is why I chose you. Tomal blinked. Why would that be good? Leaders speak for many, Valari said. But everyday people show truth. You are calm. You are quiet. You do not hide behind big words. Tomal smiled a little. That's because I don't know many big words. Valari blinked once, then gave a small nod. Honest, I like this. For the next hour. Valari asked questions, so many questions. What is a handshake? Why do humans laugh when they are nervous? What is thank you? What is a joke? Can you show me one? Tomal tried his best. He stood up and gave a firm handshake. This is how we greet friends or strangers. He said. Valari copied his movement. Her fingers were longer, cooler to the touch, but she tried carefully. Tomal chuckled. Good job. What is good job? She asked. It means, you did well. It's a compliment. She repeated the words slowly. Good job. Then, she looked thoughtful. I will remember that. Tomal then tried to explain laughter. He told a silly joke about a space chicken crossing the stars to get to a gas station. Valari didn't laugh, but she did say, strange, but interesting still. She kept asking. She wanted to understand how humans showed kindness. what food they shared, and why they celebrated things like birthdays. Tomo began to relax. He even started telling little stories from his life. How he burned his first pancake. How he once got stuck inside a broken cargo door. Valari didn't laugh loudly, but her eyes seemed brighter. She asked for more stories. Finally, after some time, she said, "Will you return tomorrow?" Tomo looked up. Me? Again? Yes, you are helping me see what the reports cannot show. Human hearts are not in books. Tomo stood, still unsure why she had chosen him, but now a little excited to return. "All right, I'll come back." Valari gave a slow, graceful nod. "Thank you, Tomo. You are now my human guide." He smiled. "You're welcome, Ambassador." As he left the embassy and stepped back onto the shuttle, Tomo realized something strange. Today had been the most interesting day of his life. The next day, Tomo returned to the Narosian embassy. This time, he wore a clean shirt and polished his boots. He wasn't a soldier or a diplomat, but he felt like he had to look proper. After all, he was now teaching an alien ambassador about humans. The shuttle ride was quiet again. The Narosian guide said nothing, just gave him a calm nod when they arrived. The embassy looked just as peaceful as before. The floating stones still glowed. The air still smelled like fresh flowers. But this time, Tomo walked in with a bit more confidence. Ambassador Valari was already waiting in the same crystal-lit chamber. Her eyes watched him closely. "You return," she said softly. Tomo nodded and smiled. "Of course. I said I would." Valari gave a slow nod. "That is a human custom to keeping promises, yes." Tomo said, "At least good people try to." She pointed to the cushions. "Please sit. Today I want to learn about greetings and stories. Your kind has many ways to greet others, yes?" Tomo sat down across from her. "Yeah, it depends on the place. Some people wave, some shake hands, some bow, some hug." "Hug?" she asked, tilting her head. "I read about this. Is it not dangerous to press your bodies together?" Tomo laughed. "Only if you're hugging someone with armor on." Valari remained still, then slowly said, "That was humor." Tomo grinned. "That's right, you're learning." She blinked slowly. "You are pleased?" "I am," he said. Vla her eyes shifted slightly. "I have never greeted someone with a hug. Would you show me how?" Tomo stood slowly, unsure. "It's okay if you're not comfortable." But Valari also stood. "You are my guest. I must learn." Tomo gave a light, polite hug, not tight, just enough to show how humans did it. Valari stood still for a moment, then placed one hand lightly on his back. When they stepped apart, she said, "Strange, but warm." "That's the idea," Tomo said, sitting back down. "It's a way to show care." Valari looked thoughtful. "Your kind shows care often." "I like this. Narosians are more careful with emotions." Tomo nodded. "Humans too, sometimes. But we also laugh and cry openly. It's not weakness. It's just real." Valari closed her eyes for a moment. "Then teach me something real." Tomo thought for a while. "How about stories? That's a big part of human culture, yes? I have read that your people love stories, fiction, tales, legends. Please, share one." Tomo leaned forward. "Okay, I'll tell you one from Earth, my home planet." He began slowly. "Long ago, there was a boy who wanted to touch the stars. He built a flying machine, but it crashed. Everyone laughed at him, but he didn't give up. He built another and another. One day, he flew so high, people stopped laughing. They started dreaming like him." Valari listened without blinking. "Was it true?" "Not really," Tomo said, "but it felt true. That's what stories do. They carry dreams, even if the events never happen." Valari nodded. "We have something like that. We call them sky memories. They are songs about things that could have been, but we do not tell them with joy. We sing them in silence." "Wow," Tomo whispered. "I'd like to hear one someday, perhaps." She said softly, "But first, teach me another." So Tomo told her a funny story from his life, how he once got locked inside a cleaning room for 6 hours and had to sing songs to stay sane. Valari didn't laugh exactly, but her eyes sparkled in a new way. I see now, she said. Humor is not always about being loud. Sometimes it is about being brave, even when things go wrong. Tomel smiled. That's true. Then Velari brought something from beside her, 2 small cups in a clear bottle. This is Narosian flower water, she said. It is used in our greetings when we wish to form a bond of respect. Would you share it with me? Tomel took the cup carefully. It smelled like spring and morning dew. They both drank. It was cool, soft, and slightly sweet. This is our custom, Velari said. Now, we are equals. Tomel looked surprised. I thought I was just a guest. You were, Velari said. Now, you are a bridge. Tomel sat silently for a moment. He had never felt this kind of respect before. Back on the Peacewind, he was just a worker, a quiet technician with grease on his hands. But here, he was someone important. Vlar, I broke the silence. I wish to learn more about your people, your laughter, your music, your ways of showing care. Tomorrow, bring something from your world, something humans use to connect. Tomel thought for a moment. I think I know just the thing. She gave a soft nod. Good. Then I look forward to tomorrow. The next morning, Tomel walked toward the Narosian shuttle with something special in his hands, a small wooden board with smooth, round pieces of 2 colors. It was a human board game called Discs and Lines. It was an old Earth game that his grandfather had taught him when he was young. It wasn't just a game. It was a way humans shared time, laughter, and quiet moments together. The shuttle, as always, was silent. The Narosian pilot gave him a nod, and soon they flew toward the shimmering crystal dome of the embassy. Inside, Ambassador Velari was waiting. Today, she wore a flowing robe made of soft light, which shifted colors slowly from silver to blue and back. She looked peaceful, but curious. You brought something, she said gently. Tomel nodded, holding up the game board. It's called Discs and Lines. It's simple. 2 players take turns placing pieces. The goal is to connect 4 of your discs in a row, straight, sideways, or diagonal. Velari blinked slowly. A game of connection, exactly, Tomel said, placing the board on the floor between them. It's also a game of strategy, but most people play it just for fun. Velari sat down gracefully. Then teach me. Tomel showed her how to hold the round discs, how to place them gently into the board's vertical frame. The first few turns, she studied every move carefully, tilting her head after each placement. You are trying to block me, she said after her 3rd turn. Tomel laughed. Of course. That's part of the fun. Velari gave a slow nod. I see. In Narosian culture, we do not block. We build together. We play a game called Mirror Wind, where both players win only if they match each other perfectly. Tomel smiled. That sounds peaceful. But humans, well, sometimes we like a little competition. It makes the moment exciting. Velari stared at the board. It teaches alertness and planning. This is not just a game, it is a lesson. After a few more rounds, she won 1 match. Tomel clapped politely. You learn fast. Velari gave the slightest bow. You are a good teacher. After the game, Velari brought out a Narosian gift, a memory crystal, small and glowing faint green. This holds the sound of a Narosian mind song, she explained. We do not share these often. They are personal. But I wish you to understand how we feel. Tomel held it gently. What does it do? Place it near your heart, then close your eyes. Tomel obeyed. As the crystal touched his shirt, he felt a soft vibration, not sound exactly, but something like emotion, a feeling of calm sadness, of longing, of beauty left behind. He opened his eyes slowly. Velari watched him closely. Did you feel it? Tomel nodded. His voice soft. Yes, it felt like missing someone, but smiling anyway. That is exactly right, Velari said. Tomel sat in silence for a moment. Then he said, our customs are different, but not that different. We tell stories, you sing memories, but we both tried to hold on to feelings. Velari nodded. It is why I enjoy these meetings. The next topic was food. Velari wanted to learn about human meals and the idea of sharing them. Why do humans sit in circles and eat together?" she asked. "It's not just about food," Tomal explained. "It's about time, about togetherness. We call it breaking bread. It means sharing more than just a meal." Valari looked thoughtful. "We also have shared meals, but we do not talk during them. We believe silence shows respect." "That's different," Tomal said. "In human meals, we talk. We laugh. Sometimes we even argue." Valari's eyes widened slightly. "You argue during meals?" Tomal chuckled. "Only with people we trust." Valari raised her hand slightly. "I must write this down." She pressed a few buttons on a crystal tablet, recording everything he said. Then she turned to him again. "Tomorrow, I wish to invite several Neurosian scholars. I want them to see a true human custom in action." Tomal looked surprised. "What kind of custom?" "Something joyful, something honest. A full example of human interaction." Tomal thought for a moment. "Maybe I can plan a human-style evening. Music, snacks, light conversation. Nothing formal." Valari nodded. "Yes, that sounds perfect. But will you be comfortable leading it?" Tomal hesitated, then smiled. "I think so, as long as you're there too." "I will be," Valari said softly. "You are not just teaching me now. You are showing my people who humans truly are." That evening, Tomal returned to the Peacewind. His head was full of thoughts. Back on the ship, his fellow workers had started to notice his visits, meeting the ambassador again. Someone asked at dinner, "Maybe she's making you her assistant," joked another. Tomal smiled but said nothing. It was strange. Just days ago, he had been invisible to most people. Now, everyone wanted to know what it was like speaking to an alien every day. He looked out the ship's window, watching the lights of the Neurosian city glow in the distance. Something inside him had changed. He wasn't just a technician anymore. He was becoming a bridge between two worlds. Tomal stood in the center of the crystal-lit hall, hands slightly shaking. Today was different. It wasn't just a private visit with Ambassador Valari anymore. Now, he was preparing a full human custom evening for Neurosian scholars, diplomats, and watchers. All eyes would be on him. He had brought everything he could think of: a small human music player, snacks from the ship, simple crackers, and dried fruit, and a few decorations made of cloth and paper. It didn't look fancy, but it felt warm. It felt real. Valari entered quietly and stood beside him. She wore a ceremonial Neurosian robe with symbols of learning stitched in soft gold thread. "Are you ready, Tomal?" she asked. He nodded, though his voice came out low. "I think so. I just hope they don't think this is silly." Valari looked at the room, where 10 Neurosians had gathered in a quiet circle. They stood tall, with calm faces and long robes. Their hands were folded respectfully. "They will not find it silly," she said. "They will find it new." The event began with music. Tomal pressed a button, and soft earth music filled the room. It was an old melody, calm, gentle, with guitar and flute sounds. Not loud, not strange, just peaceful. Valari explained to the others, "This is human music, not for war or orders but for rest." The Neurosians listened. Some tilted their heads, others closed their eyes to focus on the sounds. Then Tomal invited them to sit. He had arranged soft cushions in a circle, just like on Earth during casual gatherings. "This is how we sit when we talk with friends," he said. One of the scholars asked, "Must we speak now?" Tomal smiled. "You can, or you can just enjoy the moment." Valari joined him on the floor. Slowly, the others followed. Tomal offered the small snacks next. "These are not meals, just light food we share while talking." The Neurosians took the snacks carefully, studying each item before eating. A few nodded in approval at the dried fruit sweetness. Then came the stories. Tomal stood up and said, "In human culture, stories are important. We share our thoughts, dreams, and even lessons through them. I will tell you one." He spoke clearly. Slowly, there was once a traveler who got lost in a snowstorm. He could not see the stars or the road. He was tired, cold, and afraid. But then he heard laughter. He followed the sound and found a small cabin where people were dancing and singing. They gave him food and warmth, and he realized sometimes The best way to find the path again is through others. The room stayed silent. Then Valari nodded. A story of connection? Tomel nodded. Exactly. To lighten the mood, he invited them to play the Dis and Lines game. He set up the board in the middle and asked if anyone would like to try. One older Narosian scholar, named Lethan, stepped forward. I would like to understand the logic of this play, Lethan said. They played a full round. Tomel explained each move kindly. Lethan studied the game seriously, then smiled after losing his first match. I see the joy now. Lethan said, it is not only about winning, it is about sharing a moment. The room grew a little warmer, not in temperature, but in feeling. Valari stood then. My fellow Narosians, she said, this is what I have seen each day. Simple objects, small gestures, soft words, but they carry great meaning. This, I believe, is the heart of human custom. Tomel sat quietly as her words spread through the chamber. He looked around and saw expressions he could not fully read, but something in their eyes was softer. One younger diplomat asked, why do humans speak during meals, tell stories, and play games together? Tomel answered gently, because time is short, sharing it makes life feel bigger. Valari turned to him, and you have shared yours with me. He looked at her, not sure what to say, but his heart was full. After the event ended, the scholars left quietly, thanking Tomel in their own way, some with nods, others with simple phrases like, this was enlightening. Tomel helped clean up the cushions and cups. Valari stayed beside him, folding the soft cloths they had used. You did well, she said softly. I wasn't sure they'd care. Tomel admitted. They did, Valari said. Not in loud words, but in the way they watched, the way they listened. You gave them something rare. Tomel smiled, tired but happy. It felt like more than just a meeting. It was, she replied. This was a moment of crossing, a step between minds. He looked up at her. Why did you choose me in the first place? There are many humans smarter than me, higher ranked, better speakers. Valari looked at him, her expression calm. Because you are not trying to impress, you simply share. That is a true custom worth learning. Tomel didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. That night, as he returned to the Peace Wind, he passed by the observation deck. Stars stretched out beyond the glass like endless dust on black velvet. He stood there for a while, thinking. He had shown his world through stories, laughter, games, and kindness, and someone had listened. Maybe, just maybe, the galaxy wasn't as big as it seemed. End of part 4. After the human custom evening at the Narosian embassy, Tomel became well known across the ship Peacewind. People who had never spoken to him before now nodded at him in the halls. Some smiled. Others whispered, hey, that's the guy who hosted a party for aliens. He made them play games and eat crackers. Can you believe it? But not everyone was happy. A few officers from the human side started watching Tomel more closely. One of them, Lieutenant Drays, called him into a quiet meeting room. Tomel arrived with a nervous heart. The officer crossed his arms. Tomel, you've been spending a lot of time at the embassy. Yes, sir, Tomel said. Ambassador Valari invited me. It's part of the cultural exchange. Drays frowned. You're not trained for diplomacy. You're a technician. What exactly are you doing there? Tomel paused, choosing his words carefully. I'm helping her understand human life through simple things. Games, stories, music, and now you're performing in front of alien leaders? Drays raised an eyebrow. That's above your level. Tomel looked down for a second. I didn't plan it, she asked. I just said yes. Drays leaned forward. Be careful, Tomel. You represent Earth whether you like it or not. One wrong move and it could damage relations. Tomel nodded quietly. I understand. At the same time, trouble was growing on the Narosian side too. Inside the crystal halls of the embassy, whispers had begun to spread. Why does the ambassador spend so much time with one human? He is not a scholar. He is not trained. Shouldn't she choose someone more important? Some members of the Narosian High Council sent a formal message to Ambassador Valari, requesting her to explain the nature of her meetings with Tomel. Valari did not look surprised when she read the message. She stood calmly, thinking. Then she sent a reply. I will appear before the council, and I will bring the human with me. That evening, she told Tomel about it. You're asking me to speak in front of your leaders? Tomel asked, eyes wide. Yes, Valari said. They want to understand. You must speak for yourself. Tomel looked unsure. I'm not a leader. I don't even know the right words. Valari's voice was calm. You don't need perfect words. You need truth, just like you've shown me. Tomel took a deep breath. Okay, I'll do it. 2 days later, Tomel stood in the largest chamber of the embassy. It was shaped like a half circle, with soft lights shining from above like stars. Across from him, 12 Narosian council members sat in tall, glowing chairs. Each wore robes of different colors. Their faces were calm but unreadable. Valari stood beside Tomel. One council member spoke. Ambassador Valari, you have spent many hours with this human. Please explain. Valari bowed slightly. He is teaching me what books cannot. He is showing me the real heart of his people. Another member asked, why choose someone so ordinary? Before Valari could answer, Tomel stepped forward. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. Because ordinary is where truth lives, he said. I'm not special. I'm not trained, but I'm real. I represent how humans laugh, share, struggle, and connect. The council watched him closely. I didn't come to teach anything big. I just shared what we do every day, how we greet, how we eat, how we tell stories. It may look simple, but it's who we are. A quiet moment passed. Then one elder Narosian asked, what have you learned from us? Tomel looked at Valari for a moment, then said, I've learned that silence can speak, that stillness holds power, that memories can sing without words. A few council members nodded slightly. Another asked, and what do you hope we learn from humans? Tomel smiled, gently. That connection starts with small things, a handshake, a shared meal, a kind word. You don't need power or rank to understand each other. You just need to listen. There was silence in the chamber. Then Valari spoke again. This human has given me more understanding than 10 reports. He has not only taught me, he has changed me. After a long pause, the lead council member finally said, we accept your choice, Ambassador. The cultural exchange will continue. Tomel let out a quiet breath of relief. I turned to him. You did well. I was scared, he whispered. Yet you spoke, she replied. That is courage. Later that night, Tomel sat by the lake outside the embassy, looking at the reflection of the stars on the still water. Valari joined him quietly. Do you think they truly understood? He asked. Yes, she said. Because you did not try to impress, you tried to be honest. And that speaks louder than any title. Tomel picked up a small stone and tossed it gently into the water. What happens now? Valari looked up at the sky. Now, we build more bridges, and you, Tomel, will help lead the way. Me? He said, surprised. I'm just a technician. Valari smiled. Not anymore. After the council's approval, the atmosphere between the humans and Narosians changed gently but deeply. Tomel's role grew beyond just helping Ambassador Valari. He was becoming a true envoy, a bridge between two very different worlds. One morning, Valari approached him in the embassy gardens where strange glowing plants hummed softly. She held a small, smooth orb, a communication device. Tomel, she said, the council has invited you to speak at the Great Assembly. You will speak not only for yourself, but for all humans. Tomel's heart raced. The Great Assembly was the highest meeting of Narosian leaders from many planets. Speaking there was an honor few aliens ever received. I'm not sure I can, Tomel said quietly. I'm not a leader or a scholar. Valari smiled gently. You don't need to be. Speak your truth, and you will inspire. The day of the assembly arrived. The great hall was vast and shining, filled with hundreds of Narosians from different planets. The air was calm but charged with attention. Tomel stood at the center stage, his hands steady though his mind was racing. Before him sat the leaders, their eyes fixed on him. He began simply, I am Tomel, a technician from the human colony ship Peacewind. I never expected to stand here, but I am honored. He paused and looked over the crowd. I have spent time with Ambassador Valari, sharing human customs games, stories, meals, laughter. At first, I thought these were small things, but I learned they are the heart of our humanity. Tomel took a breath. Humans are curious, sometimes loud, often messy. But we care deeply. We show respect not by power, but by kindness. We connect by sharing time, stories, and meals. The leaders listen quietly. Many of you have advanced civilizations and long histories. Humans are young in the galaxy, still learning. But we bring something new, our spirit to reach out, to understand. He told them about the handshake, the hug, the laughter he shared with Valari, about the game discs and lines, and the stories of hope he told. Customs are not just rules. Tomel said softly, they are doors to friendship, to trust, to peace. After his speech, there was a long silence. Then, one elder Narosian stood and spoke. Tomel of Earth, your words honor your people. You have reminded us that strength comes not only from weapons or power, but from connection. You speak with the honesty of one who has lived, not just learned. Others nodded. Valari stood beside Tomel, proud. From that day, Tomel was officially named Human Custom Envoy, a title no human had held before. Tomel's new role meant more work. He helped organize cultural exchanges, taught human music and stories to alien students, and learned Narosian customs in return. But the hardest part was helping both sides understand each other's fears and hopes. One afternoon, he met with a young Narosian scholar named Miri. Tomel, she said quietly, humans laugh at the strange and the unknown. Does that mean you are not afraid? Tomel smiled. No, Miri, we are afraid like everyone. But sometimes laughter helps us face that fear. She nodded slowly. And what do you fear most? Losing connection, Tomel said. When people stop listening, stop trying to understand each other. That is when fear grows. Miri looked at him thoughtfully. Then we must learn to listen better. Tomel smiled. Exactly. Months passed. The human and Narosian cultures grew closer. Tomel and Valari remained close friends. She sometimes told him about her people's ancient history and their silent tea rituals, where they sat together without words but shared a deep connection. Tomel showed her human music and dancing. One evening, they even laughed together over a joke he made about a confused starship pilot. Their friendship became a symbol of hope between the two races. One evening, as Tomel prepared to leave the embassy, Valari approached him. I will retire soon, she said softly. But before I go, I want to say thank you. For what? Tomel asked. Surprised. For opening the door, she said. Customs are like doors to the heart. You open one no Narosian could. You showed that even the smallest voice can change worlds. Tomel felt his throat tighten. Valari smiled gently. Remember, Tomel, peace is built by those who dare to understand. Tomel nodded. I won't forget. As Tomel returned to the Peacewind, he looked at the stars shining bright above. He was no longer just a technician. He was a bridge between humans and aliens, between worlds, between hearts, and the galaxy felt a little smaller. The day was bright, with soft sunlight shining through the embassy's crystal windows. The atmosphere was filled with excitement and hope. Tomel stood near the entrance, watching as Narosians and humans gathered together for a new event, the Festival of First Connections. It was the first official celebration of friendship between their peoples, a day full of music, food, games, and stories. Tomel smiled quietly to himself. It had been a long journey from a simple technician to this moment, where the species celebrated together. Ambassador Valari, now preparing to retire, gave a short speech. Friends from many worlds, she said, her voice calm but strong. This festival marks more than just friendship. It marks the beginning of a shared future. She looked toward Tomel. Tomel, without your courage and kindness, this day would not be possible. Thank you. Tomel bowed. It was an honor. The festival began with music from both cultures. Humans played soft melodies on stringed instruments. while Narosians added their own mind songs, a kind of gentle humming. That felt like the air itself was singing. Tomel joined in, feeling the music in his chest and bones. It was strange and beautiful. Next came the food. Tables were set with human snacks, dried fruit, nuts, simple breads, and Narosian dishes, which looked like glowing leaves and fragrant spices. Tomel offered a piece of bread to a young Narosian child, who took it carefully and smiled shyly. In return, the child gave Tomel a small flower, rare bloom that glowed softly in the twilight. Tomel held it gently, feeling the warmth of the gesture. Later, Tomel helped organize the games. The board game discs and lines was played by many humans and Narosians side by side. Laughter filled the room. It was not loud or wild, but quiet and sincere. Vilari watched from a distance, her eyes bright with pride. At one point, a young Narosian scholar approached Tomel. "I never understood laughter until now," she said softly. Tomel smiled. "It's a way humans show joy and sometimes courage. It brings people closer." She nodded. "Thank you for sharing it." As the sun began to set, the guests gathered for the final part of the festival's circle of stories. Tomel sat in the middle, surrounded by Narosians and humans. He told a story from his childhood about a lost dog who found his way home. Thanks to the kindness of strangers. One by one, others shared their own stories of hope, loss, friendship, and dreams. Vilari closed her eyes, listening deeply. When the stories ended, Vilari stood and said, "This circle shows the truth we all share. No matter the stars we come from, our hearts beat in the same rhythm." She turned to Tomel. "You are no longer just a guide. You are family." Tomel felt a warmth spread inside him. He looked around at the faces shining with hope and peace. For the first time, the galaxy felt smaller, not because of technology or travel, but because of connection. After the festival, Tomel and Vilari walked together through the embassy gardens. The glowing plants shimmered softly. "I will miss this place," Vilari said quietly. "And I will miss you," Tomel replied. She smiled. "You have opened many doors, Tomel. The future is bright because of you." Tomel nodded. "We did it together." Back on the Peacewind, Tomel sat by the observation window, watching stars twinkle in the dark sky. He thought of the long path that had brought him here, from a nervous technician receiving an unexpected invitation to a human ambassador helping two worlds understand each other. A new chapter was beginning, not just for him, but for all humans and Narosians, because when kindness leads, the stars themselves shine brighter.